There's something called Occupy Wall Street. And this group, Occupy Wall Street, was actually started by a Canadian activist. And by another group called Adbusters. And they claim to be taking inspiration from the Arab Spring. So I guess they're a bunch of Al-Qaeda-type terrorists. I don't know. So they want an American Revolution. No, not like the American Revolution, more like the French Revolution. But they're not exactly sure why. They hate corporate America. By the way, they hate all corporate America. Not just some corporate, all of them. So that's always very rational. They seem to be protesting against economic inequality. Wow, that's a new one. I think we had Marxist revolutions all over the world on that one. And I might say, the place where there's the least amount of economic inequality, North Korea. We want to congratulate the North Korean government. Lots of equality over there. I'm not talking about the ruling class. There's always a ruling class. But I'm talking among the people. No middle class, no upper class. Everybody's dirt poor. And by dirt poor, I mean dirt poor. But the good news for you leftists is everybody has their chance to eat rats and insects and, on a good day, roots. There we have economic equality of the first order. Now, we have a real collection of misfits in this operation. No doubt promoted by commie professors and people of that ilk. We have children, that is, people who are barely past puberty, protesting against the rich. Wow, that's just wonderful. We have, well, Mr. Producer, you happened upon this group. You and your recent bride, what were you doing on the Brooklyn Bridge?
We're actually up there taking photos.
Photos of what?
We did a trash the dress wedding session, which is basically...
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah? What's that?
We basically take pictures after the wedding day is over in her dress, my tuxedo, on the bridge.
Okay, by the way, who does that? But that's a whole other story. I guess your wife, she's got you in a half Nelson at least, if not a full Nelson.
I enjoyed it.
All right, there you're on the bridge in your tuxedo, and she's there wearing her wedding dress, and what happened?
A cop came up to us and said, you might want to leave the bridge. We have about 2,000 or 3,000 protesters coming your way. So our photographers said, why don't we stay? It'll be a good photo op. So we stayed.
Photo op for whom and what?
For us, it would just be cool to take photos with the crazies.
Now, it turns out the New York Daily News was there, and they got a picture of you there, right?
They did. The Daily Mail did. The AP did. And we were all over the papers.
So basically, these protesters came to do a photo op for you. Is that about right?
Of course.
All right, now they were trying to shut down the bridge, weren't they?
Oh, they did. They shut down one side of the bridge. And in one breath, they would congratulate me and Jen, and in the next breath, they would scream at the cops saying, F you, you stupid pigs.
F you, you stupid pigs.
It was like they had multiple personalities.
Well, maybe they do. Were the mental institutions opened up? Or these were people from all over the country?
And they were a little bit confused. They had signs against Wall Street, signs against poverty, and against food modification.
Very interesting. Sounds like the Democrat Party platform, actually. But they were doing other things at this protest, too, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, our friends, who am I to give credit for here, Mr. Producer, on Cuts? WABC Radio. Jill Vitale, was she there in person? And she caught some of this and put it on audio, right? So in addition to protesting all corporations, the rich, food modification, anything else? Poverty, of course. Let's listen to some other things they were protesting. Cut 7. Go.
The Jews control the Federal Reserve Bank.
Wait a minute. The Jews control the Federal Reserve Bank? Now, is this from the Sunday protest, Mr. Producer? So food modification, corporate America, poverty, and the Jews. Do I have that about right? I don't know about the priority order, but that seems to be, am I right? All right, wind it back up, put the volume up. We want to catch them in full, anti-Semitic form. Cut 7, go.
The Jews control the Federal Reserve Bank. Half the billionaires in this country are Jewish. Jews only represent 2% of the population. The American people are being ripped off for trillions of dollars. A lot of the stolen money on Wall Street ends up in Israel.
There's been a bunch of teachers that have come out today to do their work while decolonizing Wall Street. And so we're out here singing, and teachers have been grading their papers all day.
Chemical concoctions pass off as remedies and medicines are poisonous toxins designed to control your mind so you won't find that real truth, and that stuff you consume is headed straight for the landfill. A system of equality and a system that does not kill people and infect us with the food that they give us. I have 2 boys standing right in front of me. One of my boys had good hair, and one of my boys doesn't. You understand? The American people are being, the Christian majority, we Christians, our money's being stolen hand over fist. The food that they feeding us with the soybeans they give the animals, and they changing our DNA structure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that goes on and on and on. Certainly not a Tea Party rally, folks. Certainly not the Conservative Political Action Committee. That's the left. Now, the bottom line is, these people are easily controlled and influenced by demagogues. That's the danger. You can just hear the language that these fools are using. Now, I had it here. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see some of the famous people who are involved in this. Michael Moore. Who's he going to vote for? Susan Sarandon. Who's she going to vote for? Russell Simmons. Who's he going to vote for? Noam Chomsky. Who's he going to vote for? And I can go on and on. And by the way, aren't they really put upon by the system? These people who live in the lap of luxury take advantage of stupid people. That's what they do. I mean, as I say, there's almost no logic to what's going on. I don't think I've taken any callers today, have I, Mr. Call Screener? Let us take a few, shall we? Let us go to Brian in Los Angeles, California, the great KBC. Go.
Hey, Mark, raised in Sunnyvale, by the way.
Oh, good deal, man. Congrats.
Yeah, I just want, regarding these, unwashed banshees screeching about corporate greed, I'd like to take them all back to the spring of 1990 when I bicycled across Germany with my girlfriend. And when we went from west to east, it was literally like stepping back 40 years in time. The streets went from glass to rocky road, potholes big enough to swallow our bikes. No fresh fruit on the shelves, no fresh vegetables. For milk, they had this thing called shelf lack. We had Russian officers begging us for Marlboro cigarettes. It was wild. Everybody drove the same car, these little things called Trabants. They're basically sewing machines on wheels. And the only people making money were Turks at the western side of the Berlin Wall selling Soviet surplus. It was like stepping back, like not 140 years in time. And the houses, these were dilapidated Soviet houses. They had 90% mortar and 10% brick.
This is what happens when you wring out profit, when you wring out what they're really attacking is success. That's what they're attacking.
Yeah, and if these guys want to follow Alphonse Caligula off the cliff, go right ahead. But I think there's enough Americans in this country that know better and know that these guys are just they're malcontents. They just want to loot, or maybe not loot or pillage, but just cause trouble, and they really don't have anything else to do. That's the way I see it.
All right, my friend. Thank you for the context. It's very good. Yes, malcontent is a word I use all the time because it envelops all these people in one word, doesn't it? I put it in Liberty and Tyranny. It's a word that was often used by Eric Hoffer in his great books. And it's true. That's what they are. Now, we have a list from Kerry Pickett at the Washington Times, hat tip Jedediah Bila, of their 13 demands on their website. Demand 1, restoration of the living wage. This demand can only be met by ending free trade, by reimposing trade tariffs on all imported goods, entering the American market to level the playing field in domestic family farming and domestic manufacturing, as most nations that are dumping, by the way, these are run-on sentences, but that's them, not me, that are dumping cheap products onto the American market have radical wage and environmental regulation advantages. I wonder if they have anything here about illegal alien workforce. Something tells me not. And gee, ladies and gentlemen, we haven't learned from the past that when we have massive trade and tariff barriers, what do other countries do? Anybody know? Demand 2, institute a universal single-payer healthcare system. To do this, all private insurers must be banned from the healthcare market, as their only effect on the health of patients is to take money away from doctors, nurses, and hospitals, preventing them from doing their jobs, and hand that money to Wall Street investors. Maybe like that one protester said, Mr. Producer, the Jews. Demand 3, guaranteed living wage income regardless of employment. This is like the Communist Manifesto's 10 planks, except there were 10 enough good for Marx. This group needs 13. Demand 4, free college education. Demand 5, begin a fast-track process to bring the fossil fuel economy to an end, while at the same time bringing the alternative energy economy to energy demand. Actually, this is starting to sound like the Obama administration agenda. Well, one and the same. Demand 6, $1 trillion in infrastructure, water, sewer, rail, roads, bridges, electrical grid. Now. Spend it now. Demand 7, $1 trillion in ecological restoration, planting forests, reestablishing wetlands and the natural flow of river systems, and decommissioning of all of America's nuclear power plants. Now you know where we are with this group. Demand 8, racial and gender equal rights amendment. Demand 9, open border. Oh, I was wrong. Open borders migration. Anyone can travel anywhere to work and live. Gee, that's a good one. Don't you think? That doesn't affect wage. Putting aside national security, which I'm sure they don't care about, that has no effect on wages, does it? Can you imagine all the poor people from the third world that will rush into this country? How are they going to get all their free college and free health care and free food and free housing? Anyway, let's move on. Demand 10 from this group. Bring American elections up to international standards of a paper ballot precinct counted and recounted in front of an independent party observers system. But why have a vote at all, ladies and gentlemen, if the government has the power to seize your assets? And believe me, they're not going to just seize corporate assets. When the government has the power to seize assets, it seizes assets. Seizes whatever assets it wants. In the name of the people. Demand 11, immediate across-the-board debt forgiveness for all. Debt forgiveness of sovereign debt. Commercial loans, home mortgages, home equity loans, credit card debt, student loans, personal loans. All debt must be stricken from the books. World Bank loans to all nations. Bank-to-bank debt. All bonds and margin call debt in the stock market, including all derivatives or credit default swaps. All $65 trillion of them must all be stricken from the books. And I don't mean debt that is in default. I mean all debt on the entire planet. Period. Writes whoever the I is writing for the website. Demand 12, outlaw all credit reporting agencies. Demand 13, allow all workers to sign a ballot at any time during a union organizing campaign or at any time that represents their yay or nay to having a union represent them in collective bargaining or to form a union. These demands will create so many jobs, I'm reading what they wrote, it will be completely impossible to fill them without an open borders policy. Well now, there are literally constituent groups who support the Democrat Party who believe in one or more of these things, aren't there? Answer, yes. So to call this the Occupy Wall Street protesters is not correct. They are a bunch of Marxist hoods, parasites, who want to steal your liberty and your private property and that of your children and grandchildren. That's what they are. I was pointing out before the break that during a big Tea Party rally on the Capitol steps, a number of congressmen and women walked through there, and one claimed that the N-word was used. But we never did find the person. There was all kind of video and audio going on there. It was never heard either. This was an attempt to paint the Tea Party movement as racist and all the rest, and it's been going on a long time because, ladies and gentlemen, the leftists hate your guts. And the fact that you're resisting their destruction of your country and their attempt to seize more of your liberty and more of your private property from you and your family drives them nuts. So now we have these bizarre protests centered in New York and some other places. They have a 13-item plank that is not unsimilar from the plank in the Communist Manifesto. Actually goes further. And this is what they're campaigning on. And they have support from Russell Simmons. What's he, like a billionaire, Mr. Producer? I mean, this cracks me up. And Michael Moore, that slob, and Susan Sarandon. I would just tell the Hollywood studios, I wouldn't pay these actors or actresses anything. I would tell them you're going to contribute to the local shelter. I mean, why? I mean, you know. In any event. So, there was a offer made, I think it was $100,000. I had made one on this program first, of $10,000, but I think Breitbart made one of $100,000. For anybody who'd come up with audio of somebody using the N-word at that Tea Party rally. Nobody did. Now we have this Marxist leftist group marching, and by the way, I just saw Juan Williams on Fox defending them and somebody else defending them. I mean, are they defending their agenda? They say all these people are out of work. No, they're not. These are not the out-of-work people protesting. So they don't even know what they're talking about. They want to project their politics onto this movement, not even understanding what this movement is. And when you go around to the individuals who are protesting, it's utterly incoherent. But the organizers are organizing it as a Marxist left movement. In other words, willing dupes and unwitting dupes, a.k.a. drones. And yet we heard the attack on Jews by the Marxist marchers, and I just wonder how much of this is going to be picked up by the national media and denounced. Listen at the top of the news, at the top of the hour, your news broadcast. See if the network news covers it. I'm making it available to them. WABC in New York got the audio. I just want to know if they're going to make it available on their network news programs, TV or radio, so that we can have a true sense for what this group is. This comes from the protesters on Sunday. And I promise you, if this was said at a Tea Party rally, it would be all over the news, all over TV, all over cable, all over radio, and there'd be no stopping it. But here it is. Other than me and I think some other hosts on WABC, I don't know that anyone else has played it. Rich, have they? No. Here it is, Sunday. Cut 7, go.
The Jews control the Federal Reserve Bank. Half the billionaires in this country are Jewish. Jews only represent 2% of the population. The American people are being ripped off for trillions of dollars. A lot of the stolen money on Wall Street ends up in Israel.
All right, stop. Okay, you never heard that at a Tea Party rally. So we heard this at the protesters at the Wall Street, so-called Wall Street protesters. Now, what do you make of this? Anybody going to say anything about it? other than me?